Hello and welcome to Working Class Hollywood. Today's guest is an excellent one. Alexandra Nickson, she's the head of music at DreamWorks Television Animation. So that means every animated TV show that DreamWorks puts out, Alex and her team oversee music for all of them. So we're talking KUNG FU PANDA, Boss Baby, TROLLHUNTERS, How to Train Your Dragons. DreamWorks has been doing a great job of taking their movie properties and spinning them off into shows, most of them on Netflix. And Alex gets into the deal that DreamWorks has with Netflix that makes all this content possible. Alex is so much fun. She's super bubbly. She loves what she does, and you can hear it coming through in her voice. And we'll get to her interview in just a minute. But first, I want to do a little teaser, something I really haven't done yet on the show. The episode I'm going to release next week, I think, is going to be a good one. Bill Langworthy is the executive producer of Vanderpump Rules on Bravo. I've had the pleasure of working with Bill for the last 7 years on that show, and I sat down and I interviewed him. So if you are at all a fan of Vanderpump Rules, if you are a fan of reality TV, of The Hills, and you want to hear about how all that stuff comes together and goes down, Bill and I had a really, really interesting chat. He has some amazing stories that I'd never heard after 7 years of working with him, and I'm going to release that conversation next Sunday, so stay tuned. But for now, let's get to this week's episode with Head of Music at DreamWorks Television Animation, Alexandra Nickson. Welcome to Working Class Hollywood, conversations with people that make the movies, TV shows, and entertainment you love. If you're looking to break into or move up in the entertainment industry, or you're just a fan of content and want to hear about how it's made, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Jeremiah Smith. I am here with Alex Nickson. She is the head of music for DreamWorks Television Animation. Did I get that right?
Pretty good. DreamWorks Animation Television.
Oh, God, I swapped them. I rehearsed that like 5 times before we hit record. Anyway, you run music for TV, for animated TV at DreamWorks.
Yep.
And we're going to get into all that and hear about everything that you do.
Yes.
And but first, I want to know where you came from. So where are you from originally?
Oh, okay.
And how'd you end up in Los Angeles?
Here? Okay, so I was born in Rhode Island.
Okay.
And we moved around a lot as a kid. My dad was not in the military, but was in entertainment.
Oh.
So he actually started in the record business doing distribution and then transitioned into home entertainment. He was actually a pioneer in the home entertainment business. And so we moved all around the East Coast when I was a kid. Like it was Rhode Island, Minnesota, Rhode Island to New Jersey, Pennsylvania. And then when I was 11, we moved to California. My dad got the job as head of head of home entertainment for Orion Pictures at the time.
Oh, I remember Orion.
Yeah, they did like RoboCop and that Kevin Costner movie, Wolves. Was it Wolves?
Dancing with
Wolves, yeah. I remember when we first moved here. In fact, we just had this conversation. We moved here and my parents went to the Oscars for Dancing with Wolves. And left me with a babysitter and I cried. I was not happy about it. We just talked about that. But so I moved to California when I was 11, and singing was always a big part of my life. Like I was always in choirs when I lived on the East Coast.
Yeah, like show choirs?
Well, back east it was just like
concert,
like a chorus.
Yeah.
But here, yeah, I ended up doing show choir. I say that I was the original Glee.
Yeah, no, I did too. That's why.
Did you?
That's why I asked. Yeah,
no.
Yeah. I went to.
Where'd you go?
I went to Helix High School in San Diego.
Oh.
But we did all the touring show choirs.
I'm like, we competed.
Upland and Brea and
did you compete against Bonita Vista and Burroughs and all of that?
Yeah, Bonita Vista Music Machine.
Yes.
Burroughs had a really good one.
We just hired this girl on one of our shows who it goes to Burroughs and is like their star show choir person. And I was totally geeking out with her. I was like, oh my God, it's my life.
Wait, what school were you doing show choir at?
So I went to Westlake High School.
Okay.
In Westlake.
Yeah,
so
we probably were at, I'm not going to ask how old you are, make you say it on the...
I'm probably too old. Well, probably older than you.
I don't know, maybe. But we very well could have competed together.
Yes.
Me in my sequin vest and bow tie.
Like hot pink. We had like hot pink sequin. It was like the most sexy. But so actually I moved here when I was 11. And then when I was in high school, I went to Westlake High School and got extremely involved in our show choir. And when I was in show choir at the time, it was actually like the cool thing to do. Like it was like football players and cheerleaders and everybody was in choir. It was like just a fun experience and everybody wanted to do it. And it's actually where all my best friends to this day are from that show choir.
Me too. I still have friends that I'm close with that were in show choir with me.
I mean, like we Marco Polo every day.
Oh, I don't know what that means.
Crazy. I know. I had to have someone teach me what that meant, but it's like a video text.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was some like singing game. You're like, Marco, and then someone answers you. Polo. No.
I'm going to do that tonight with them. But no, it's just like a video text.
I have heard about Marco Polo, the video texting
so,
thing.
anyways, me and my best friends were in that, and choir and singing were a huge part of my life. And I knew that music needed to be a part of my life. And so I decided at the end of high school, I didn't do great on my grades because I was so focused on choir. And then like at the end, I realized like, oh shit, like I got to go to college. And like, what am I going to do? And I wanted to go to USC. That's where I wanted to go. Mm-hmm. So I knew that out of high school, I wasn't going to make it because my grades weren't great. So I decided to do a year at community college. And then I went and I auditioned for USC to be a vocal major. And I got in.
Oh, awesome.
And so I went to USC as a vocal major with a emphasis in music business. And then when I got there, I realized like in high school, I was, a big fish in a little pond. And then you go to college and you're like, oh shit, there's a lot of really talented people here. And a lot of them are more, have more musicality than me, know how to really read music. And you play it on piano, I could sing it perfectly, but give me sheet music to read. I'm like, ugh. It's like math. Like I'm not good at math and it makes me not good. Like I'm just not great at reading music. And I also have horrible stage fright. So
it's interesting for someone that was in show choir.
I have horrible stage fright performing by myself.
Gotcha.
So when you're a vocal major, you have to do juries and like sight read in front of people. And I like stepped back and I was like, is this what I want to do? Like, do I want to audition all the time? Like, I feel like that's going to give me a lot of anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety. I don't want to do this. And so I decided ultimately, plus I was more a Broadway opera singer. Mm-hmm. I'm like not great at pop. And I was like, okay, then I'm going to end up, what are my career choices? I'm going to move to New York and try and make it in Broadway. And there's there's a lot of talented people here. There's even more talented people in New York. Yeah. So much competition. Like, I don't want to do that. So I decided to switch my major to music industry. And it was the best thing I ever did. And ultimately, when I switched, I was like, I want to work at a record label because back then that was cool.
Right.
I mean, I guess it's still cool. I just wasn't something it was like really cool.
It
was back when like people were making like crazy money and like going to crazy, it was just like insane. And so I did an internship at Epic Records in their radio promotion department.
Awesome.
And I was like, this is amazing. But I quickly learned it wasn't as amazing as I had thought. And we were essentially deceiving the public, which I didn't. I felt really uncomfortable. So it's like, you would call in and you're a fan of Ozzy Osbourne and you're going to win an Ozzy signed guitar, except it was signed by me. Like I would sit as an intern and practice his signature.
Oh my God, that's so shady.
It's so shady. And then same thing with like Jennifer Lopez perfume bottles. And like I would sit and sign Jennifer Lopez perfume bottles that would be sent to the radio stations that people would call in and win.
Wow.
And then the last thing was I would book travel. So like I always tell people, if you win a trip on the radio, like I don't think about it where you want to go. So like at the time it was Audio Slave was the band, if you remember Audio Slave. And I think the show was in like Miami or Orlando, and it was call in, and win a trip from wherever you are to Orlando. We'll pay travel, your airfare and hotel. Except they don't tell you, I'm going to book you on a flight that stops 10 times. It's going to get you in 5 minutes before the show starts. No transpo to the show from the airport. You're going to stay at like the Red Roof Inn. And then you're going to figure out how to get back to the airport at 6 a.m. the next day to come home. And the people would be yelling at me. And I'm like, I'm just an intern. Like, this is what they're telling me to do. Anyways, I hated kind of the deception to the public because I feel like music is so important and is so important to people. And artists are so important to people. And these people were calling in because they love these artists and they love listening to their music and they want to have a part of it. And I just hated that we were deceiving them.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like, I don't know if I want to. And also, like, I don't think all record labels are like that. I also don't think, I was in the promotion department, which I think is exceptionally kind of
shady.
Shady.
Yeah.
I mean, the people I worked with were nice, but I just didn't like that. And then I was looking for another internship. I was finishing up school, and I saw that MGM Pictures was looking for a film and TV music intern. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that as a career. Like, I didn't realize, like, oh yeah, there's music and movies and television, and I like movies and television, and I love music. So that seems like a good natural progression.
Yeah.
So I interviewed for this internship, and the assistant who was hiring went to USC, was a music industry major. She hired me on the spot. She was like, done, you're hired. Oh, okay, great. Awesome. And I was pretty much done with school. I was taking like one finance class. So I worked 3 days a week, full days at MGM. The day I started my internship, the assistant quit. I was like, okay. It's a good opportunity for me. I'm going to show them that I can help them and do the job. So that's kind of what I did. I went into my boss's office at the time. Her name was Maureen Crow. She was a very prominent music supervisor, and she was now the SVP of music at MGM. And I went into her office every day and was like, can I color code your files? What can I do to help you? And I would read through the files as I was color coding them and ask her questions like, oh, what is a sync license? What is a master license? What is MFN? Like, I would read everything, but I would still, organize it and color code it and make her happy. She came to me I think in October that year, and she was like, you know what? I'm going to fire the temp that I've had. You're going to start full time the next day. So after you graduate. So I finished a final on a Tuesday, and then I started full time work on a Wednesday.
That's awesome.
At MGM.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you were adding value, and you were kind of you took this internship as an opportunity to go above and beyond,
right,
and learn and soak up all that info while you were doing work for the person that you were
absolutely
there to help,
and
you know what I mean? I
say to people too all the time now, an internship is what you make of it. Your bosses are so busy. My bosses were so busy. She didn't want me to go in there and be like, what do you need me to do? I just need to figure out what I could do to help her do her job better.
That's great advice.
And then I also was a sponge and didn't just do the job. I read and asked questions and would ask other people questions. And, I think it's important to be a self-starter. And I think that's exactly what I was at the time.
That's great. And I am the biggest advocate of internships. I did 4 internships when I was in college. I went to USC. Or I'm sorry, UCLA.
Yeah.
UCLA, yes. We're rivals.
Bruins.
Yes.
Boo.
I know. But I loved my internships.
Yeah.
And I credit pretty much everything.
Me too.
My whole career to having found those internships.
Me
and
too.
You know what I mean?
And listen, even though, when I worked at the record label, it wasn't a great experience. It taught me so much because it made me realize this isn't for me.
Yeah.
This isn't what it helped me find the right path.
Sometimes learning what you don't want to do is as important as learning what you do want to do.
100%.
Because I think, especially coming into, the entertainment industry or whatever industry,
right,
you're like, oh, I want to be, I want to work at a record label because that's cool. And then you realize inside the walls, maybe not so cool.
Right.
But then you find something that's oh God, I didn't even know that existed.
Exactly.
And that becomes your life's passion. You
right.
know?
I mean,
so.
Who knew?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything at the time about film and TV music. But I'd also have to say too, even though the record label internship I didn't like, and it was just not my thing, you better believe I learned how to fucking sign those names so good. I worked so hard and made sure that, my T's were crossed, my I's were dotted. I asked lots of questions. I was still very inquisitive. I just realized that part of the business was not for me, but I still worked really hard at it, and I kept those relationships because, as you, I'm sure, know, relationships are everything.
Of course, yeah.
And, I was so lucky enough to get that internship at MGM, and I made it what it was and was able to get hired, but I've since continued to build those relationships, and that's kind of how I've gotten to where I am today.
Do you still have a Jennifer Lopez signed bottle of perfume or an Ozzy Osbourne guitar in your possession?
I don't.
You should have kept those.
No, but you know what I do have? It's sitting over there from so my first job at MGM. I worked on a movie called Be Cool.
Yeah.
It was with The Rock and Christina Milian.
Yes, I remember.
And it was the Get Shorty sequel.
Yes, yes.
And so we worked on an original song. There were a couple of original songs in the movie. Will I Am was, I think, one of the music producers. And he had this protege he was working with, this kid named John Stevens. And him and John wrote the song Believer that was going to be in the movie. And I was the assistant, so I booked all of like John's travel, all of that. Anyways, I loved this song Believer, and I helped, get it produced, and I booked the studios and all of that. Well, John Stevens is John Legend.
Oh, God. Awesome.
And it's over there in my bookshelf, but I used to have it out in my office, like in plain sight, but I have it out in hopes that he's going to come in my office and sign it. Because it was the first original song I ever had anything to do with.
Yeah.
And it was just such an amazing, he was so lovely. And
he's the best.
He's the best. And he always has been the best. When he was John Stevens, he was the best. He's the best as John Legend. And so I'm dying to have him come sign that.
My
so
gosh.
I did keep that. I have that.
I love John Legend and Chrissy Teigen.
Oh
and
God.
I feel like I'm so close to being able to meet them because they're such big fans of Vanderpump Rules.
Oh my God, stop.
Like they tweet about it all the time. They were just at Tom Tom the other day, the new restaurant, and they posted a picture of them there. And I'm like,
oh my God,
I
so
could have been
close.
there that day. I'm there. I'm like one chance encounter away from meeting
You're so close.
John and Chrissy and becoming best friends. If you're listening, invite me to your house to watch
Oh my
Vanderpump
God,
Rules
I want
with
to
you.
come too. Oh my God. We can talk about Believer and your kids. We'll talk about kids.
Such cute kids.
Oh my God. So he just started on The Voice and we are now part of Universal, and I was on the lot yesterday and I was like, oh my God, is he going to be here? I was like, I'm going to accost him. No, he's amazing. And his wife, they're just like incredible. So
Yeah.
I do have that. That's like my one piece of like old memorabilia that I have.
That's awesome.
Waiting for him to come sign
That's
it.
rad. So you were an assistant at MGM for this
Yeah.
music supervisor. How long did you do that for?
So that job was interesting. So my boss, Maureen, was amazing, and I loved her, and we had a great relationship. And then she left, I think, to go on to more independent music supervision. And this woman, Julia Michaels, came on. And I didn't know her, but I had heard she was really nice. And at first I was kind of like, oh, I love Maureen. But I fell in love with Julia, too. And at the time, which was really odd, there was really no one overseeing our scoring sessions. And so Julia was like, hey, you want to oversee our scoring sessions? I was like, yeah, sure. And she's like, I'll introduce you to a woman at Fox, because she'd come from Fox, who kind of, she works with the musicians contractors, and she can kind of help you learn how to budget and figure out how many musicians and talking to the composers and all that. So I did that, and I learned, and I started booking all of our scoring sessions and managing our scoring sessions. So I would, work with the composers and work with the musicians contractor and make sure we hired all of the musicians, made sure that the scoring session studios were booked, made sure we had catering, all of that. I basically produced the music
and that's for
scoring
like
sessions.
If MGM had a movie or a TV show.
So there was a movie. So let's say it was like Barbershop, the movie.
Sure. Great choice.
We were working with the composer, and so we were scoring with he would write all of the music, it would get approved by the studio, and then there would be an orchestrator who would orchestrate it for the musicians, and then we then book a couple of days to do the records at the sessions with all of like the violinists and the percussion and the brass and all that. And so I would go, and then I would manage our time frame, because we didn't want to go over and get hit with union dues. So I would always be like, okay, like we got to move on to the next cue. Like it's sounding great.
And is that like where they would like play the movie on a screen?
Correct.
And they're literally orchestrating the instruments to the picture?
They're playing the instruments to the picture.
I would love to see that. That is such a cool process I've never witnessed.
So invigorating. I mean, and just someone who I just love music and love being around musicians. Like it's something comes alive. Like it is just amazing. And it was great. And so I did all of that, and I would budget all of that. Like I was working with like, I don't know, like $4 million budgets. Like it was crazy. I was 22.
Wow.
To this day, I said to Julia the other day, I was like, I can't believe you like let me do that. And she's like, you did it though. Yeah. And you did it good. And I was like, oh, I mean, I did. Yeah, you're right. But like, oh my God. So I did that, and it was really great. And unfortunately, Sony came in and bought MGM and laid everybody off. But it was during good economics times, so we all got 6 months full pay. So that was really nice.
Oh, wow.
Like I feel like that's pretty unheard of now. But so I got laid off, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And Julia decided to go into independent music supervision with a friend of hers named Dave Jordan. And she called me one day, and she was like, we'd maybe left like 2 months before. She goes, hey, like, would you be interested in coming over and being our coordinator? I said, yeah, I love working with you. Let's do it. So she joined Dave in his company called Format. And he was working out of this apartment on Sunset and Vine. You know those apartment buildings on Sunset and Vine? Mm-hmm. There used to be a Borders downstairs.
Yeah,
like
of course.
Kabuki. Okay.
Yeah, they built them in like the 2000s or something.
Early 2000s. Yeah. So like
yeah.
it had just been built. And Dave was friends, I think, with the owner of the building. I don't know, something. So we got this, like, we were working out of this 1-bedroom apartment. Dave had the bedroom. And then me and Julia and JoJo, who was Dave's coordinator, we all had the living room. And then we ended up getting an intern. And so I went into independent music supervision with them. And I did movies with her, like The Devil Wears Prada and August Rush. And Dave did, like, Epic Movie and Date Movie and... what was that? I Think I Hate My Wife. There's, those kind of like rom-commy, sitcom, movies. And so I worked there for a number of years and realized like I loved working for them. Like they are incredible music supervisors and just so well respected. And I learned so much. They've been incredible mentors to me. But I realized like music supervision independently was just not what I wanted. I loved being in a studio. I loved overseeing kind of the whole process. Mm-hmm. And not just being kind of, in independent music supervision, you're very kind of in the weeds with all of the songs and listening. And that's so great and creative and amazing and being on set and playback. And I learned so much and I loved it. But I also really loved being kind of above and looking at all of the different aspects. The bigger picture. Working with different people and...
Would you, and now I want to have a music supervisor on the podcast to kind of like explore that side of it and hear their story. But would you just give me like the briefest, I guess, overview of what a music supervisor does? Like, because in my mind, they just like, they pick songs that are going to play during the movie. Like, and that sounds like an oversimplification, but.
I mean, overall, I am a music supervisor. That is what we do here too. I just also do other things, but essentially what we do is the process is, at least for me, like I get a script, I read the script and I break it down. So I break down I literally just, here's my like broken down script right here. It has all my little like tabs and I highlight anything that there's music, dancing, or humming, any singing, anytime where it's like, or if I notice we're in a place where there might be background music. So interior bar, interior restaurant, interior mall. So I highlight all of those because those could be song placements. And so in general, like let's say I'm doing a one-off, like let's say it's a more like typical music supervision, not like what I'm doing here, but like, I would read the script, break it down and kind of put together a rough budget based on what I think, how many songs I think based on the script that there may be. So all pre-production music, all music I think you would need in the background. So anytime we're in a car, is the radio on? Mm-hmm. These are questions to ask. So I'd put together kind of a music breakdown and maybe a little rough budget. And then I would go to my, director, executive producer, whether it's a television show or movie, and go through it, right? Okay, what do we think we want? What do we need for this pre-production stuff, which is the most important, and figuring that stuff out. Whether you're, here in animation, we record everything, or in live action, we have to get everything ready for shooting. So it's the same on either side. And in that case, figuring out, okay, is it a song that people know? Are we re-recording it? Are they humming to the song? You have to clear the song, pre-clear it. So you go to the master owner and the publishers and figure out your budgets and make sure it's cleared prior to recording, prior to any of that. Have that cleared, figure out who's going to produce it, who's going to record it, who's going to comp it, all, is the same person, hopefully. Make sure it gets to set, make sure the playback operator has what they need.
So a more complicated job than just picking the songs that play in the movie. Oh my God,
yeah. I mean, yes. And then, a huge part of music supervision is balancing your budget. It's,
Right.
Anybody can choose, okay, yeah, this song would be amazing in the scene, but I mean, you can't afford that song.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to find music that your show can afford that will still be emotive and work and be as impactful. And I think that's like a true art of music supervision.
Right.
Like when you go to a movie and it's just like all just giant songs. I mean, that's an art too, because you have to really work on clearing that music. There could be, it's so complicated. It is absolutely not, I like this song and I think it would work in the scene. Like that's just, people don't realize how much work actually goes into it, and negotiating and paperwork and making sure that all of your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. Like it's so much detail in order to, make sure that you're doing that. And then, I mean, on a movie, even on a TV show, when you're licensing music, your director could decide like at the mix, like, you know what? I don't like this song anymore. I want this song. And let's hope that it's cleared. If not, you're sitting on the dub stage calling, begging people to clear it for you so that, you're not in a bad position.
Mm-hmm.
That you don't have, you don't want to be sued or have a claim against you. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Wow. Okay. Great.
So it's not just picking. Sorry, I felt like that was like really discombobulated.
No. I'm I mean, honestly, like one of the main reasons I do this podcast, I'm just like so interested in what people do and like how they spend their days and they make their livings, because these are just things that like I never knew about. Like I just never knew that there were people that did this for a living, and it's just like so fun to me to hear this. So yes, no, please don't think you're like talking too much or bored. Whatever. Okay. You're awesome.
Well, I hope I'm not boring people.
No. You're the opposite of that. So you were working at what do you call them?
Okay. Format.
The music supervision, and you're like, I want to get out of the independent hustle and maybe do something more big picture.
Back to the studio. And so my bosses, who were amazing, Dave Jordan and Julian Michaels, introduced me to another incredible music supervisor. Her name was Jennifer Hawks, and she was just hired to be the head of music at DreamWorks live action features, so Amblin. And at the time, Paramount Pictures had kind of owned Amblin, I think. So we were kind of umbrellaed under them. But she was starting this division. They didn't have a music, group. And so she asked me, we met over coffee and we bonded. And she was like, hey, do you want to come help me start our little music team at DreamWorks? So I said, yeah, why not? So I went over to Amblin with her. We worked over at the Universal lot in Steven Spielberg's area. It was pretty cool. It's like you're in the lunch line with Steven and his dog, like walking around. You're like, hey. And it was a really amazing experience. And Jen is an incredible supervisor and was also an amazing mentor to me. But it was like, I'm not going to lie, it was nuts. Like we were working, it was 9 to 9. Like the hustle was real. We were working on, big movies. We had Tropic Thunder, if you remember that movie, which was really funny. But, also there was like a lot of pre-production music to deal with.
Wait, real quick, when you say pre-production music, what does that mean versus like
I call that like
music?
An on-camera. And I even say that now too, even though I'm in animation. But it's essentially like you see someone singing it on camera, you see someone playing music on camera. Any of that's all pre-production music. We have to figure out what that music is, clear it or create it prior to shooting, prior to recording.
Got it. Versus like a song that
versus
exists.
A song that exists that you hear, maybe like someone's in the car and they turn a radio on. That's called a background vocal or a background instrumental. When you see someone, and so you categorize that on a cue sheet too. There's like so much that goes into all this, right? So the background vocal, background instrumental, those are things that like you can put in post. It doesn't have to be done unless someone is singing along with it. So that's called a visual vocal.
Okay.
Or a visual instrumental would be someone playing an instrument on camera.
Right.
Or on an animated thing. So we always have to make sure that that music is ready and available prior to either shooting or for us animating or recording.
Gotcha. And that's all different than like the score.
Totally different.
Yeah.
The score is totally different. Yes. And, here at the studio, I do that too. And we hire composers who do all of the underscore, all of that music. And I call it, and we'll get there too, but I call that for us here at DreamWorks, it's another main character. Your score is another main character.
Oh, yeah.
It is so important to find the right person who's going to create that special underlying music that really helps you emote and see what's on screen. You take any music out of any movie or any TV show or commercial, whatever it is, and it totally changes the tone. So the underscore is incredibly important.
And bad music can like pull you out of the story.
Yes.
And you're like, God, why are these violins so whiny?
Yes. You're like, why am I paying attention to that? Really good music, you should not be paying attention to. You don't want to be like, oh, what is that sound? You want to be like, oh my God, look what's happening on screen. I'm crying. You know, the violins are making me cry.
Right.
Not for a good reason, not a bad reason. So wait, we were talking about pre-production music.
Yeah, I derailed you. So you're at Amblin.
So Amblin, Tropic Thunder, The Ruins, Lovely Bones, all those kind of Transformers. I think there's my Transformer picture right there with Michael Bay. It's in my little
nice
little thing.
Maybe I'll take a picture of that and put it in the show notes or something.
There you go. That's that's one of my other relics that I have. So anyways, I was there and it was fine. I was, just killing myself working. And but I enjoyed it. I love what I do. But I got a call one day from someone at Disney and they said, "Hey, we're looking to hire someone to oversee the day-to-day on Disney Channel. Is that something you'd be interested in?" And I generally don't close an open door. Like I'm usually like, okay. And at first I was like, oh my God, it's TV. I've never worked in TV. Like, am I stepping backwards? And I remember calling all my mentors, like, is this a bad move for me? Because it's TV and I've been working in features. And all of them were like, I don't know. I've never worked in TV. It's definitely different. I was like, yeah. But ultimately, I met with the team over at Disney, and I just felt like, don't close this open door. It seems like a good opportunity to do something different. And so I decided.
How did they find you? Did they just word of mouth?
It's relationships. Like, relationships are everything, right? So I think someone over in like the features camp called over to someone else who, hey, do you know anybody who might be great at overseeing the day-to-day on this Disney Channel thing? And my name came up and they called me.
Gotcha.
So, so I went over to Disney and I started doing the day-to-day on all of our shows. So at the time, I was there at the very end of like Hannah Montana. I started the Jonas Brothers show.
Wow.
We did Sunny with a Chance with Demi Lovato. So lots of big stars now.
Yeah.
So I got to see them from the very beginning. Wizards of Waverly Place with Selena Gomez. I was there for her first on-camera or pre-record for her on-camera in Wizards.
It's crazy how many like huge pop stars got their start as like, Disney kids.
Well, and then too, like Ariana Grande and Drake come from Nickelodeon.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears.
They were Disney. They were on all of those Disney shows.
Mickey Mouse Club or whatever.
Yeah, the Mouseketeers. Christina Aguilera. Yeah, like huge.
Yeah, that's
crazy. It's crazy. So I was there during that moment. And I oversaw all the day-to-day. Like, I would be on set and like make sure that their lip sync was correct. Make sure if someone was playing a guitar that they were actually looking like they were playing as the track is playing. And kind of making sure that the playback operator had all of the music and that was correct. So I would manage kind of the on-camera moments. And then I also managed all of our spotting sessions with our composer. So spotting session is when you go into post-production and you have locked picture and you sit with your executive producer, the director, the composer, usually a music executive is there, and we spot where they want music in picture with the composer. And so I would oversee all of the scoring. Like, I would go to all of the scoring sessions. And I did that. And I loved my job. Everything was great. Everything was fun. And then I realized I always want, I'm always like looking for like, okay, I've done this. How do I grow? Where's my next, like, what do I do? And the company, Disney Corporation, I noticed had this channel called ABC Family, which was under the cable network group. And I was like, who's doing their music? Like, no one was doing their music. So I was like, hey, I'll do it. Like, you're working on amazing shows, it looks like, and you need someone who's going to hire music supervisors who can like oversee the day-to-day on choosing songs for that. And I can help you with all of that and marketing and kind of tie it all together. And so they were like, okay. So I kind of transitioned into overseeing the music at ABC Family. And from there, I worked really closely with our marketing team to build out a music destination, because it was really millennials who were watching those shows. We started with like Secret Life of the American Teenager. Pretty Little Liars was launching when I was there. Greek was kind of...
I was going to say, I actually watched Greek randomly enough.
Yeah. So Greek was going when I kind of transitioned over, but I oversaw kind of the end part of Greek, and, Melissa and Joey and Roommates and like all these kind of, sitcoms. And I worked on creating an online destination with their marketing group. We called it the Sound Booth. And I used it to help us leverage music in shows too. So I could say to a label, hey, listen, I know I have a reduced budget on my song, but we'll chyron your song in the middle of the episode. So like a little chyron would pop up and say the name of the song, and then maybe link back to abcfamily.com, and you'd come back to our website and we would have like a profile of the artist, a link to their iTunes. And then we also started doing episodic song guides. So this is like before Spotify or app, really became a thing, but you would go online after, say, you watched Pretty Little Liars, and you could, or The Fosters or whatever it was, and there would be an episode guide of all of the songs that were in that episode, a link to their iTunes and a link to the artist. And that really helped me leverage costs within the show,
right? Because
we were promoting the artist and promoting the sale of their album or their single or whatever it was. And I've always been very like artist friendly, and like I think they're sharing their craft with us, and I would television at the time was really like the new radio. And I think it still is. But I felt like we were helping our audience kind of discover new music and find new music and find who they are too, because I think that's what music does.
What do you mean by that? Television is the new radio?
Like people discover new music on TV.
I see.
Like you listen to you listen to a song in a show and you're like, God, I love that song. Especially now with Shazam and things like that. I mean, Shazam was just starting when I was at Family, and I actually worked with them to make sure that all of our music was tagged by them, anything we created original, so that people could Shazam it and make sure that they knew where to go to buy it. But I think, that's how people discover new music. And I feel like everybody has that one song that they remember from a movie or a television show, and they, synonymously link it with that.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Ready?
Yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody in Wayne's World.
Oh my God. I was just talking about that.
I became a huge Queen fan. Yeah, I actually did. I just watched the Bohemian Rhapsody movie.
So did I.
I didn't think it was great, to be honest. No, I didn't. And I'm a huge Queen fan, and I'm not generally like super picky or critical of movies. I'm not like a movie snob. I just thought I was like, I don't know, 3/4 of the way through the movie, my wife and I were arguing about had he had sex with a man yet. Like, has he? Because both the guys he tried to have sex with him, and he didn't push them away.
Wait a minute, is he gay?
I
was confused about that too, because he got engaged to Mary, and I was like, wait a minute.
Right. Like, I just felt like it was like some parts were kind of confusing, and like I loved all the music stuff, and I thought that Rami, what's his butt, did like an amazing job.
Rami Malek.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Incredible. I was blown away, again, from a music supervisor's perspective, from the fact that he did not sing any of that.
Really?
Nope. all of it.
Were they all Freddie Mercury's vocals?
No. I think the
you're getting there.
majority of it, I was like Googling it as I was watching it. The majority, from what I understand, again, did not work on this movie, but from what I understand, the majority was original masters from Freddie Mercury. The music editing on this movie is fucking phenomenal. And I know the sound editing won the best picture won the Oscar, but I have to say whoever music edited it like deserves that too, because they really worked so hard on crafting all of that. I mean, incredible. But they also used a session singer. In fact, I was just looking him up today. He's incredible out of I don't know if he's a session singer, but he's a singer out of Canada, and they found him, and he sounds remarkably like Freddie. So what I'm guessing is any of the like stuff where Remy was like practicing, where you wouldn't have had the original master, because I was like, wait a minute, there's no way they have like an original master of Freddie like writing this song.
Right.
It was probably that session singer.
Gotcha.
So it's a sound alike. We call it a sound alike. I thought the music like production and editorial of that was like phenomenal. And then his performance, that lip sync performance, I mean, I'm sure he was probably like, and I would coach people too, when I coach people on camera, I'm like, just sing, because you need to look like you're singing. Like you're not being recorded. So don't worry. Like we'll work with the music editor and like, make sure it fits in your mouth. But, really actually stand in front of a mirror and sing. So it truly looks like you're singing. You have to have all of the breathing and all of that. And he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal.
He was great. Yeah, I loved all the music.
But
I just thought the story
that.
Stuff was like a little like...
My husband and I talked about that because I did not realize that the record executive was Mike Myers.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize. And my husband is not in the music industry, but he was saying to me, he was like, oh, do you think they put Mike in there because Wayne's World really gave a resurgence to Queen and Bohemian Rhapsody, and there was a new audience who kind of discovered who they were. And I have to say, I think that was probably the first time I had really listened to Queen too, and became a big fan.
Had the cassette tape?
Yes.
With was it the? It was the cassette tape, the Wayne's World soundtrack, and I would listen to it all the way through. Good. And Bohemian Rhapsody, I would just play that song on repeat, and I learned every word. I know every single word of that song, front to back. I can sing it straight through, and I would like sing it in my room, and then that's how I discovered Queen, was through
Queen's amazing.
Wayne's World.
Yeah, we literally was like, well, do you think that's why they chose him? And I was like, what do you mean Mike Myers is in this movie?
That's interesting though. It could be it's like a nice little like nod.
Yeah, like a nice little nod to the fact that. And I said, I guess I didn't realize that Mike Myers directed that movie too.
He directed Wayne's World?
I guess. I don't know. Did he? Because I was like, he was in the movie, but it's not like he chose the song. And then my husband was like, no, I think he did. Like, I think he directed it. I'm like, oh, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be. But where did we go from there?
ABC
Family. So I created the sound booth. We had that whole thing going. And then I worked really closely with marketing, and I would do all of their Christmas stuff. So we did like the 25 days of Christmas. So I'd find like the artist. So I'd hire like Colby Calais, and like she would write a 25 days of Christmas like jingle, and we'd shoot a music video with her, or the band Perry, so I'd, work and find artists to do that and shoot those videos. And that was really fun and exciting. And I loved my job at ABC Family. And very similarly, I got a call one day when I, from someone here at DreamWorks who I had worked with at Amblin.
So you've like never looked for a job?
Yeah, not really.
Like aside from maybe like your initial like internship or whatever, like it sounds like every job you've had is just someone calling you being like, hey, I've got this really awesome thing for you. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, I've been very lucky. I'm not gonna lie. But I do, again, credit like my relationships. It's so important. Having good relationships, having a good reputation, being nice to people, like that.
It's huge.
It's huge. Like, just be nice. Like, that's.
And not everybody does that.
No,
some people
are
just dicks. And
you're
like, why are you
being such a dick?
Why in your position? Like, how do people continue to hire you when you're
I had
a
a
dick?
meeting today like that, and literally I left and I was like, why are you such a dick? And why do you have this job? Because you should not talk to people that way.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't believe in that. I believe in good juju and being kind to people and being nice to people. And I think I've been lucky. And so, I got a call. And they were like, hey, would you want to oversee the music at DreamWorks? And again, I don't shut open doors. I had never worked in animation. And I thought, yeah, you know what? Why not try it. So I came over here and I was by myself, and we had 3 shows in production. I think it was Turbo, VeggieTales was just starting, and a show called All Hail King Julian. And
how long ago was that?
5 years ago.
Okay.
5 years ago. And so I just, came here and kind of started overseeing those. And then I hired an assistant who had actually been a music editor on our show Turbo. And he comes from the composer world. And I like to hire people who have skills that I don't have. So I knew the composer world and like scoring sessions, and I booked all of that. But he's like a true, like, he wanted to be a composer and really, has a incredible music editor. And so I hired him. He kind of took a little bit of a demotion at the time to be my assistant, but that's okay because he's doing well now here. He's climbed his way to the top. He's amazing. And so it was me and him, and it was just us, and we were kind of overseeing all of our properties, and that was 5 years ago. We had 3 shows in production. And then you fast forward to today, and I have 20 shows in production.
Oh my gosh.
And like a crazy amount in development. And I have a team of 6. So I have myself and Frank, who's now kind of oversees all of the creative with me and helps me do kind of marketing and franchise. And then we have 2 coordinators who do the day-to-day kind of music supervision on the show. So reading all the scripts, breaking them down, figuring what we need in pre-production, looking for songs in post-production, kind of working with all of the different teams here. Me and Frank have an assistant, Matt, who's incredible. And then I have Amanda, who's our administrator, cue sheet administrator. And she, oh my God, her job she's incredible. She watches every single episode of every single series that we do and make sure that the cue sheets and all of the timings and all of the cues are correct, and make sure that all of the songwriters are listed, or if a writer wrote lyrics to something, make sure they're listed on the cue sheet. And that allows us, we submit that to we have a publishing administrator, and also to the PROs, the performance rights societies. And that allows us to collect our publishing royalty and also performance income, and allows our songwriters and composers to get their income as well. So we are also an income-bearing department, so we bring in money as well.
Right, because your music that you create and own will be...
we own all of it.
Right.
So we're able to collect on all of that as well.
That's awesome.
And then look for other licensed opportunities.
And do you guys hire music supervisors for the shows, or you guys are doing that job as a studio?
For the most part here in animation, we create so much original content that we usually music supervise it internally. Mm-hmm. I do have a couple of shows that have more licensed music that we do hire music supervisors for, to kind of just oversee that aspect of it. But we're still very involved, even though there's a music supervisor who might be looking for all the songs and kind of weeding through everything and negotiating and all of that. We still work with everybody internal, making sure all the notes are getting to them, making sure that the process just keeps moving. We get the approvals we need, all of that.
Gotcha. And so the shows you have now, are all of them on Netflix, or you guys have a big deal with Netflix, right?
Yeah, so the initial deal and why we became a studio was with Netflix. The initial order was something like 1,000 hours of content. All of our shows got like an automatic 78 episode pickup order. Like, it was incredible.
Wow.
And Netflix continues to be like an amazing partner and an incredible distributor and a wonderful friend to us. And we work very closely with them, and we produce content that they, buy and license from us. But since that deal, we are able to go to other distributors as well. So we have a couple of shows on Amazon, which is really exciting. Some stuff going to Uni Kids, which is really great. I think those are all the ones I can talk about. But yeah, we are working with other distributors as well.
And what are just rattle off some of the shows so I know.
Oh, let me get
you have like a piece of paper or something.
Oh God, well yeah.
Because I know my kids watch Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon.
Kung Fu Panda is my favorite.
Shrek doesn't have a show yet.
No. Mm-mm.
Right? We watch the movies.
On Netflix right now, like Adventures of Puss in Boots, DINOTRUX.
Oh, TROLLHUNTERS.
TROLLHUNTERS. That's
Love TROLLHUNTERS.
Guillermo Project. It's a trilogy, actually. And so we're finishing up or I think it aired. Three Below aired, I want to say.
Three Below came out because we also watched that one.
Three Below aired, and we're working on the last part of that trilogy
fun.
right now, which is really exciting. And that's our Guillermo project, and it's a pretty special one.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. It is basically a movie. I mean, it's like a movie every episode. Like, it's incredible.
The quality of those shows, I
know.
mean, it's like, it doesn't feel like those cheesy sort of like wonkety cartoons.
No,
it's
and I think that's part of like our thing here at DreamWorks is quality. Like, we'd rather do quality over quantity, you know? Like, we really like, I'm so blessed. Like, a lot of people who work here are like, wow, I can't believe there's a music department here like this. Like, other studios we go to have nothing like this. And I think it's because the people here really recognize how important each part of the process is.
Yeah.
And so they allow us to kind of do our job.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is something I carried over. So being organized is so important in this job and being on top of it. So when I worked at DreamWorks Amblin, I created this thing for me and my boss so we can stay on top of things called the Daily Jam. So every day,
did you trademark
still
that
have
name?
it, the Daily Jam, trademarked. And it was actually called the Daily Jam because it was the Jennifer and Alexandra music. I'm such a nerd. I was like, jam, Jen and Alex music. But it's also like jam, like we're going to jam.
Yeah.
And so I've carried it to here. I've like my whole entire career, basically, the rest of my career. And it's a document. It kind of just, we put my calendar on the front. And so we all know what we have going on for the day, and then we have a list of all of our shows and then what needs to be completed on
Oh,
there.
wow. That's clever.
So yeah, it's really really kind of cool.
Yeah.
So okay, I'll tell you the shows that we have going that I can talk about. I think I can talk about Archibald's Next Big Thing that's coming. It's really exciting. It's executive produced by Tony Hale, who is, I have to tell you, so amazing. And that show is incredible, and it's coming later this year.
It's called Archibald's
Next Adventure.
Okay.
Our Next Big Thing. Sorry. Oh, Archibald's Next Big Thing. So that's coming. That was announced earlier. I think.
What platforms are coming out on?
That'll be Netflix.
Netflix. Awesome.
So that's coming. Boss Baby is on Netflix.
Oh,
and
yes, we watched Boss Baby.
Killing it.
See, I just want to know all your projects so I know what to show my kids.
Yes, show your kids Boss
over
Baby.
The weekend. No, we've watched the Boss Baby cartoons.
Boss Baby is really fun because I like to create unique and different scores for all of our series. So just because there was a feature of it does not mean I'm going to copy that in the score. So most of the scores are very like orchestral, like big, strings and brass and all of that. And we usually want to make it a little bit more intimate, more fun, more exciting for our audience, and something that's unique. So you close your eyes and you're in the other room and you're like, oh, Boss Baby's on. So I sat down with the exec producers of that show and I was like, what do you want your music to be on this? And they were like, oh, I don't know. I was like, okay, let me think about it. And so I kind of brainstormed my team and I was like, what if we did jazz? Because there was a lot of jazz in the feature.
Yeah.
It's like, what if we do like jazz hip hop?
Oh.
And so I pitched it to the EPs and they're like, that's fucking great. Yeah. I was like, awesome. So I put together this creative brief. So my process with composers too, I think is kind of interesting. So I'll give you a little insight into that.
So just real quick, just say, so the show, you're going to be overseeing the music on this show. You're going to do all this original composing. So you will you'll hire the composer,
the composers and songwriters and all that fun stuff.
Great.
So with that show, with the composer, so we figured out kind of this like genre of like jazz meets hip hop thing. And so we put together a creative brief, which lists kind of like instrumentally what we're looking for. And we list a bunch of songs that we like and what we like about the song. So we really love the bass line in this, or we really love the use of auxiliary percussion in this, whatever that may be. And we send that out to different composer agents or composers or managers that we know. We ask to get reels back based on the brief. And I always tell a composer, if you don't have pre-existing material that matches the brief, so like for that's pretty interesting, or like KUNG FU PANDA, which is on Amazon, we call that a ramen Western because our palette was traditional Chinese instrumentation paired with Western Ennio Morricone paired with 90s hip hop beats. Like, okay, that doesn't exist. So I always say, create something. Maybe it's one or two cues, 15 seconds each, that represents that you can do that sound. And so we get all of the reels in, and depends on the kind of style of music of the series. Let's say it's this Boss Baby. I mean, I have to look. I probably got like 45 reels in.
Wow.
So then me and my team go through all of the reels, and we listen, and we narrow it down to our favorite 10 to 12, because sending 45 to an executive producer, as you're one yourself, I think, would be overwhelming.
Yeah, too many choices.
Too many. So I narrow it down to 10 to 12, and then I make it blind. I take everybody's name off of it. I take everybody's credit off of it, because it doesn't matter. It's all about the music. Who's going to create the best sound for your project? You might have a friend. That's awesome, and they should pitch. But it doesn't mean that they're going to get the project, because we're here to get the best music for your particular show, and that could be someone else. So we make it blind, which is also cool, because like we get big artists too come in. They're like, I want to compose. I'm like, okay. And if they get it, great. And if not, okay, they weren't the best for that project. We're not just hiring them because of their name. So I think that that's something unique and special that we do, and I'm really proud of it. And it allows us to have a very like large and diverse group of people we hire. So we hire lots of diverse people, women, people from all over the world. So it's really interesting.
That's awesome.
And so we narrow it down to the 10. I send that out. We then meet with everyone, and we further narrow it down to 3 people. And then it becomes not blind, because those 3 people come in and meet with the executive producer team, meet with our creative execs, with me and my team. And then we have them spot 3 short scenes, usually like a comedy scene, an action scene, and like a pedestrian everyday scene. And based on their demo for the scenes and their meetings, it's important that whoever we hire has a good dialect with our executive producers and all that. That's who we decide to hire on a show. Because it's another main character of a series, that's why we take it so seriously, and why there's a little bit of it seems like a long and arduous process, but it's actually been very successful for us in terms of making sure we're getting the right sound, but also making sure, there's lots of cooks in the kitchen. Everybody's on board as we're hiring someone, because my least favorite thing to do is fire someone. So
that sucks.
I don't have my board's not up yet, because we just moved to this office, but here it says some days I'm a dream maker, some days I'm a dream killer, but every day I'm a dream worker. So I like to not be dream killer. I try not to have those days. So that's why we take a lot of care in figuring out who we're going to hire. That's kind of our composer process. And our theme song process is very similar, except I don't narrow it down. So songs are so subjective. So one song you might love, I might hate, and it's ultimately our exec producer show. So I'm not going to tell him what song to choose. So we do the same process. We make a brief. We do with lyric and music. We talk about what we like in each song. I send that out to various songwriters and producers. I get demos in. I make it all blind. And then I submit those all to the team, because, again, it's so subjective. And then that's how we choose the theme song.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to listen to music in television shows differently now that you've explained this whole process.
Yeah, there's so much stuff. Now, let's see, what else is Captain Underpants?
Oh my God, my kids are obsessed with Captain Underpants. So basically, my kids just love everything that
I'm
your
so
studio
excited.
makes.
Yeah. So that's on
They were just
Netflix.
watching, no joke, when I left the house. I went home to grab my podcasting gear. They were watching an episode of Captain Underpants.
I love it. I have right there's Jessica in her hair. Because the exec producer makes fun of me because I have big hair. So he gave me a drawing. He gave me a rough drawing, which I have somewhere here, but I wanted it framed for my office too.
That's awesome.
So we have that. It was announced, so we're working on Fast and Furious, which I think is going to be amazing.
As a cartoon? Mm-hmm. Really? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I love those movies.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be amazing.
I'm sure my kids will like that too.
It's legitimately going to be amazing, so we're so excited about that. Harvey Street Kids, which is also on Netflix. Trolls. I mean, oh my God, that's like also my whole life. Like Trolls.
Love the Trolls.
Do so much Trolls. Trolls The Beat Goes on Netflix. So I work a lot on Trolls. I work a lot with our live events team too, on anything that would utilize our music in a live event or that's crossing over on franchise. We opened up the Trolls experience in New York City in November. And so that's Chloe and Hallie right there. And we had Chloe and Hallie, I worked with the features team, and we got Chloe and Hallie to sing our song Shine Bright, which appears in our television series, but is being used as a franchise bridge campaign for the next movie.
Oh, wow.
And the beautiful and incredibly talented Chloe and Hallie came in, reproduced the song Shine Bright, and then we all went to New York and filmed the music video at our Trolls Experience, which is a pop-up museum in New York City. And it's pretty cool. So if you have kids and you're in New York, stop on by. Your kids can get hair and makeup and walk through and listen to all of our incredible music we have in our show and in the movie there in the experience. So it's really fun.
Your job sounds really fucking fun.
It is. Like, I sit back every day and I'm like, I can't believe, I'm like, I can't believe I get paid to do this job.
Yeah.
Like, it's so amazing. Like, I love what I do so much and I'm so passionate about it. And I love all the incredible, talented people I work with. Like, it's so fun.
Yeah.
It is so fun. And I get to like listen to music for my job.
Yeah. It sounds awesome.
It's silly.
And you're fun too.
Oh, thanks.
You are fun. I'm gonna start winding this down.
Oh yeah,
we've been
probably
going for like
forever.
an hour.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I love it. So, what do you recommend to people that are listening to this and they want to get into music supervision or working for music at a studio network, something? Just they want to work in music.
Yeah.
What's the best way for people to go about doing that today?
I'm still gonna say intern.
Great.
Intern.
Do you guys take interns here?
Absolutely do. And listen, like in the beginning, you're not going to get paid a lot or
Right.
anything. Like that is true. But you're in a creative position where, there's 100 other people who want to do it. So that's kind of the way you have to start.
Yeah.
And I promise you that if you stick with it and you work hard and build relationships, like the money will come. You'll be able to support yourself. And I think the most important thing is that you're passionate about it.
I had a teacher in college that actually taught the internship class. You had to take this class in conjunction with whatever internship you were doing. And I never will forget. She said, if you want to work in entertainment, I'm paraphrasing. This is not
totally
a direct quote, but she was like, if you want to work in entertainment, you cannot be hung up on how much money you're going to make at the beginning of your career, because all your friends that you're going to college with, they're all going to go and get jobs selling potato chips or whatever the fuck they're going to be doing, and they're going to make a lot more money than you. But if you stick it out, if you work hard, and if you love it, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, however long it takes, you will ultimately be making more money than the potato chip salesman.
Yes.
And you're going to love what you do 100 times more because you're going to be working in entertainment.
100%.
So
100%.
I always think about that.
That's so true, though. It's so true. And I think my number one thing is be passionate about what you do. If you are not passionate about the job that you are in, figure out what drives you. What do you love? And do that. Figure out what that is.
Yeah.
Because we spend so much of our time at work. And I think that's what helps drive me do better and be better, is because I love what I do. And I love that I get to work with incredibly talented people every day, all day. And I never stop learning. It doesn't matter. I'm the head of this department, but I go to HR all the time. I'm like, hey, can I take like a management class? Like, I'd really love to learn how I can better communicate with my team. Like, I just fucking love that shit. Like, it makes me a better person. It makes me a better leader. And yeah, anyways, I just think like be passionate about what you do. Don't worry about the money in the beginning. It will be there. It will come, but you can't worry about that. You just have to like focus on what the task at hand and what you want to learn and who you want to meet. Be kind to people. It's so important. Entertainment's hard. There's plenty of people who are not going to be kind to you.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to take that and pull yourself together and use it as a learning experience and be like, okay, that person treated me this way, and I know that I am not going to treat others that way. I've always taken note of that.
Yeah, no, that is great.
I think it's important. But yeah, I think, work hard, play hard.
Well, Alex,
be passionate.
You are a lovely, lovely person.
Oh,
you are a delight to talk to.
Thank you.
Your job sounds so much fun. And I just want to say thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I adore this. I adore talking to people about what I do. So thank you so much.
Well, it shows. All right. Thank you so much.
Of course.
All right, that was my chat with Alex Nickson, head of music at DreamWorks Television Animation. Thank you guys so much for listening to the show. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, I'm going to ask you a favor I ask every week because it's so important and so helpful. Go on to iTunes or Apple Podcasts and subscribe, leave a rating, or write me a review. It just really, really helps get the show out there. If you want to reach me, you can. You can email me at SHOW at workingclasshollywood.com, or you can find me on Instagram. It's Working Class Hollywood. Don't forget that next week's episode is going to be Bill Langworthy, executive producer and showrunner of Vanderpump Rules. It's going to be a good one. You guys are going to want to hear that, so definitely check it out when I release it next week. Until then, thank you so much, and I will see you guys later.